that, I would like to turn our attention to a familiar face. Ishan Lal, this is his second time speaking with us. He was just a squeaky young teenager the first time he came up, and now he's got the world's experience underneath. So please welcome our friend Ishan Lal.
Good morning. Well, it is a pleasure to be back here at the Greenwood Democratic Party speaking with all of you. I want to thank Bill for inviting me back. Thank you. For inviting me back since I last spoke to you 2 years ago. I am very grateful for the opportunity to have a platform with which to speak. Before I get started, there are a lot of people in the audience who I want to thank for coming. All of these individuals have played an instrumental role in my growth as an individual, and it's really special to have them here because they're all seeing me speak, I'm pretty sure a lot of them for the first time. So my best friend Milan and his mom are here, which is really special. We have close family friends, Jason Lansmesser, Priya Kumar and her son Neil. We also have two of my other close friends, Miss Clarissa Blackmore and Mr. Jerry McGraw. It's really special to have them both here to see me speak. And we also have Michelle back here as well, another close family friend. So thank you all for coming. I must be pretty cool and amazing since all of you came. For those who do not know me, my name is Ishan Lal, and I'm a resident of Greenwood County. My family has been involved in the Greenwood community for 20 years. My father, who's over there, works at South Regional, and my mother has done community foundation work here in Greenwood as well. Thank you. Since my last visit, I have made significant strides in my academic and personal journey. I am entering my senior year at George Washington University. During my time there, I have been fortunate to work with several Democratic leaders, including Congressman James Clyburn at his Capitol office and Chair Jaime Harrison at the DNC. I have also become even more handsome, which I didn't think was possible, but I just have. These recent events have been truly shocking for anyone. We see the volatility and anger within our country. We witnessed former President Trump nearly assassinated, a reminder of the polarization in our current political climate. All Americans, regardless of political affiliation, should be deeply troubled by this event. We also saw President Joe Biden step down in a dignified manner, demonstrating his unwavering commitment to put the country first, which has led to the historic elevation of our first female president of the United States. These recent events have not only tested our resilience, but also highlighted the enduring strength and adaptability of our democratic institutions. As we navigate these unprecedented times, it is crucial for us to remain engaged, informed, and united in a better pursuit for all. Now, I understand that I am young and inexperienced, with much of my life still ahead to live and learn. So many of you may wonder, why should we take the word of someone as young as Ishan or other young leaders? The answer is simple. Our generation is deeply passionate, we are relentlessly driven, and we are committed to making a difference. We bring fresh perspectives, innovative ideas, and boundless energy. This is necessary for tackling the challenges of today and shaping a better tomorrow. Our voices matter, and together we can create the future we all envision. So I want to be clear. I support this party and our nominee. However, myself and my generation believe that there are ways we can and should do better. Blindly following a party ideology or individual can be fatal to democracy. We have to just look at the GOP to see this. A party can become more effective and robust when individuals with diverse, differing opinions bring fresh ideas to the table. Our party is incredibly inclusive, and my speech is meant to be an opportunity to continuously grow as a party. One thing that I see from our Democratic Party is our time's disappointing messaging. And now, it's improved in recent weeks. With the Harris campaign, we are fired up and we are ready to go. And we're not going back. With Kamala, we can truly achieve that messaging the Democratic Party has not been able to achieve to the same degree in recent memory. We have accomplished so much under President Biden. So let's start talking about it. I have a whole list here that I'd like to list off with you. We have insulin capped at $35. We have violent crime down at its lowest rate in 50 years. Unemployment is down at its lowest rate in 40 years. Job growth, even in the presence of COVID, is the highest in 40 years. Manufacturing is at a 30-year high. GDP growth is only second to growth under the Clinton administration. Inflation has dropped to 3.1%, which is still the lowest in the industrialized world. NATO is the strongest it's been in a generation. The child tax credit has decreased child poverty by 46% and has lifted 3.4 million children out of poverty. We have signed the CHIPS and Science Act, which brings back manufacturing jobs from overseas and creates better paying jobs in the United States. With Kamala Harris, we can truly achieve this messaging by repeating these accomplishments and achievements and how the Democratic Party has delivered for the American people. Many Americans believe that Democrats haven't succeeded or think President Biden is not doing a good job because the Democrats have failed to effectively communicate their achievements. In reality, the Democrats have implemented numerous policies that have greatly benefited American individuals and families across America. However, in politics, perception is reality. Republicans repeatedly emphasize their points, often spreading falsehoods about how the Biden and Harris administration has been bad for the American people. Nothing is further from the truth. But this tactic is effective because not only does repetition lead to belief in the American political system, but their messaging is simple and it's direct. With Kamala Harris, we feel invigorated that we can now finally stand up and say what we have done for the American people and what this party has accomplished for the American people. The Democratic Party at all levels needs to continue actively talking about the issues. They should speak the truth constantly and highlight how beneficial their policies have been for all Americans, aiming to move us towards a more perfect union. These policies have benefited millions of Americans, so let's start repeating it. Let's start speaking about it. We need to hammer these points and repeat them over and over to influence public opinion. And also, let's start calling these guys out. I'm so happy when I see Governor Shapiro or Vice President Harris on TV calling them out for saying that women without children are childless cat ladies. Or they want to ban books. Or people of color should go back to where they came from. That's not presidential. That's not American. America should be about bringing people together with diverse opinions and perspectives and shine us towards a better tomorrow. And this party has improved in recent weeks. We've seen how excited and invigorated the Democratic Party is under Kamala Harris. The progress has been there with the Gen Z and millennials using all the Kamala Harris memes, or Democratic governors going on TV and feeling excited about what we can accomplish together. We deserve another 4 years in the White House and in Congress and in the Senate to make sure this change can continue and continue for the American people. In addition to messaging, I believe that the party needs to prioritize and engage with young leaders like myself more effectively. Having worked under esteemed leaders in D.C., I see the thoughtful leadership and the civic engagement that Congressman Clyburn and Chair Harrison and the Democrats have been able to use at the federal level. The party needs to be doing more to encourage and mentor young leaders in navigating the political world. With Vice President Harris, we feel invigorated. We feel happy that we have a younger, dynamic, and vibrant person for the presidency. President Biden has accomplished so much, but he has shown his unwavering commitment to put the country first and moving us towards a better tomorrow. My 3 years in D.C. have shown me that in my personal experience, and this is hard for me to admit, Republican politicians often made me feel more welcome and heard than Democratic ones. That was my personal experience, and it's sad to admit it. When I would walk around the halls of Congress or in the basement of the Capitol building, I often had more productive conversations with Republicans and Democrats, and it hurt. The party can and should do better in making younger people feel a part of something larger than themselves, which is why I'm excited that we now have Kamala Harris as that nominee. We can make our country and party stronger by bringing diverse perspectives and voices together to create meaningful change. We have a country that can bring together all Americans and make us push the boundaries towards what is possible. As an American and young man who keeps up with politics, I'm sure that we are all very excited, but also anxious about the election in less than 100 days. I believe the Democratic Party needs to continue being a unified force as it has been in recent weeks, and the American people need to be more unified than ever to champion a brighter future for every American, regardless of race, gender, or faith, to make them feel hopeful about a brighter future. The Democratic Party is and will continue being the party of hope, unity, and aspirations. We are inclusive of all Americans. When you ask Republicans to talk about the country, President Trump or VP candidate Vance or others, they talk about how horrible everything is, how negative everything is. They pit groups against each other and spread hate, division, and fear. They complain about how horrible the Biden administration is doing and all the policies that have helped the American people. The Democratic Party is and will continue being the opposite. This is the greatest country in the world, unlike any other country in history, bringing together people from every corner of the globe. Let's talk about that America, the America of hope, optimism, and belief, not of hate, division, and fear. The America that talks about how immigrants make our country stronger, not one who believes that immigrants are vermin. The America that celebrates diversity and inclusion, not one that fosters exclusion and discrimination. The America that invests in education and innovation, not one that neglects our schools and stifles creativity. The America that honors truth and integrity, not one that spreads misinformation and distrust. The America that leads with compassion and empathy, not one that promotes cruelty and indifference. And the America that upholds democratic principles and the rule of law, not one that undermines its own institutions. I believe in a country that recognizes and unites all Americans because we are Americans. That despite our differing backgrounds or opinions, we share a common story of achieving great things together and continuously moving towards improving our nation. No country is perfect, but we are the United States of America. We own that damn finish line, and we always find a way as long as we do it together. Our country is capable of amazing promise and change. I believe it'll happen as long as we elect leaders like Vice President Harris, who believe in that compromise and working together, not looking at people as being bad, horrible people because of their differing opinions, but realizing how those different opinions make us stronger. If we do this, the great American experiment can truly live up to the meaning of our creed. We must remain hopeful and optimistic of what this country can accomplish together, not just as Democrats or Republicans, but as Americans. I am hopeful of this, and I believe that that hope will be central to this election and the future of democracy. It has been a pleasure speaking with all of you today, and thank you all very much for coming.
Thank you, Ishan. We do have time for a few questions. If there's anybody who wishes to ask our speaker his opinion or experience on anything, please come on up. Do we have any takers?
Hi there, my name is Autumn Mossman. I am a Greenwood native, born and raised. So when you encounter people who are apathetic towards the political process, or they're suspicious, they're like, why does my vote matter? Why should I even bother? What is your response to that? Because I want to start canvassing and helping
Absolutely.
Bill and Jamil with their campaign, and I want to make sure that I can answer these sort of things effectively.
Absolutely. I would say that I think for too long we focus so much on the federal elections that I think people often overlook the state and local elections and how critical they are for the American democracy to continue. All the change that we want to see happen starts at local levels and start at the state level. And I think educating younger people like myself how important and critical that is so important to continuing that democracy and that American change that we want to see.
Definitely.
So I would say to, I have a lot of friends even in DC. I live in the nation's capital, and even with university friends who I go to school with, they seem sometimes apathetic about the political process because they think their vote doesn't matter. And I think under the Electoral College, in some ways, because of the way that districts are drawn, they're not 1,000% false. There is a grain of truth to it because of the way that things have been gerrymandered in certain districts and packed in certain districts. But I would say that everyone's vote matters. That's part of what makes America a wonderful and great democracy, is that every vote matters and every single life on this earth matters. And America can truly make those changes come about if we make sure that we turn up at the ballot box, which is why it's critical this November that we are all out in support of Vice President Harris and Democrats up and down the ballot to make sure that change comes about.
And I do have one other question.
For sure.
We don't want to give everybody else time. Okay, a lot of the people on the Trump side of things say he'll never implement Project 2025. We saw that he vowed to overturn Roe versus Wade, and he did, in fact, appoint the Supreme Court justices that did just that. How do we draw attention to the fact that he will do this, and he has proven that he will do these things, to people who are like, oh, no, he'll never do it?
I think just watch one of his speeches or look at his tweets and see the violent rhetoric that he spills every single day. He was just at the National Association of Black Journalists in Atlanta.
And he made a behind out of himself, quite frankly.
Absolutely. I think he made a complete fool of himself on that stage. And that's not how a president should act.
No.
And it's interesting, if you ask all of his previous administration officials or all the joint chiefs of staff and all the generals who worked with him in 2016, not a single one has endorsed him. I think that says a lot about the kind of man and president that he is.
There are also Republicans who are endorsing Vice President Harris as we speak, so that
Absolutely.
says a lot as well.
Absolutely. And the Democrats need to make sure that they bring those Republicans out and speak against President Trump and in support of Vice President Harris.
Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well done. Do we have any other questions?
I have a comment. A question and a comment.
Yeah.
When you said in Congress and you passed certain people, the party, did the Democrats not want to speak to you, or they just didn't want to hold a conversation, or just why do you say that?
I would say that it's more about holding a conversation and just taking more of an interest. And I don't want to stereotype all Democrats this way because that wasn't my experience, but I just found it very interesting how, Republicans who I don't agree with politically at all made the time in between them walking to the floor for a vote or walking wherever they were to kind of make the time to have a conversation with me and at least talk about where I went to school and where I'm from and what I want to do one day. And I think taking that interest is so critical in younger people to make them feel better and a part of something. I do think it's improved under Vice President Harris and will continue improving, but I definitely think the party can continue on that track.
I have one comment, and this works. When someone says their vote doesn't count, don't ever argue with them. You say you're exactly right. Your vote doesn't count by itself. But with your vote, his vote, her vote, then it counts. If you don't vote, that makes my vote weaker. So this is a suggestion. Do not argue with people. Tell them they're exactly right, so that clears the air right there. And you'll find your success rate will go up. Then they'll think a little bit, because all of what we have is based, how we live is based on politics. It really is, where we drive, the stoplights, everything else. But if you tell them that your vote doesn't count, tell them you're exactly right, and they change. And then tell them why. And that makes a difference.
Thank you all so much.
Thanks, man. You know, I look back at what I was doing when I was 20, 21 years old. Wasn't that. So thank you, Ishan.